The Start9 Embassy is an easy, do-it-yourself personal server so that you can take your privacy, your data, your monetary sovereignty back into your own hands. Today we're going to be taking a look at how to set up, build, and use your Start9 Embassy to build your own Bitcoin software stack. We're going to be going through it all from start to finish so that you get set up and you have everything you need for Bitcoin right in front of you. I am Ben with the BTC Sessions, and this is your daily session.
Hodl the Bitcoin.
Before we dive in, let's give a quick shout out to sponsors of the show, of which Start9 is now one. I actually personally reached out to these guys and asked if they would be interested in sponsoring the show because I've been so impressed with what they're building over at Start9 with the Embassy. Now, I'm not going to get into details of what the Embassy does because that's what the whole video is about. So if you're here, you're likely learning about it as we go. But I will say these guys are an awesome company. They're putting self-sovereignty first. They're opening this up so that anybody can do it, whether you're purchasing the hardware from them or you're building your own. You do have those options, but I will say if you do grab a device from Start9, what you're getting is, number one, the hardware that you're getting is very reasonably priced for what you're getting. On top of that, you're getting all of the support that comes along with it. So if you need to troubleshoot, if you need help with anything, they are there on the ready, and they were quick as hell at getting back and making sure any issue you have is resolved. So hats off to the team at Start9. Check them out, start9.com, and you'll be hearing more about them shortly. Up next, we've got HODL, and this is really the place to go to buy and sell Bitcoin if the following things are important to you. Peer-to-peer transactions, privacy, and self-custody. You can go here with nothing other than an email address, sign up in minutes, and be trading in no time at all. You can set up your own offers. You can take other offers that people have put up themselves, and there's no shortage of ways of payment that you can choose from so that you can obtain your Bitcoin in the easiest and most convenient fashion without leaving a honeypot of information on an exchange that adds unnecessary risk to giving away your identity to a plethora of individuals. So highly recommend HODL if you're looking at non-KYC methods of obtaining Bitcoin. Here you go. This is it. So check them out, hodl.com. And also, if you're in and looking at it, they have their lend option as well, where you can do non-rehypothecated lending across multiple assets. So be sure to check them out. Up next, CoinKite. These guys, again, I can't say it enough. They've just got the best damn hardware in the game. I love my Cold Card Mark IV. I love doing workshops and helping people learn how to use the Cold Card and truly secure their sats in the best way possible. They've got a ton of stuff on the website. Of course, they've got their open dimes, the block clocks, the sats cards, the tap signers, a ton of merch, just everything you could imagine here. It's fantastic. I've got so much of their stuff. So be sure to check them out, coinkite.com. You can use code BTC Sessions at checkout and get 5% off everything that you're grabbing. Bill Fodl over at privacypros.io. If you're backing up any important Bitcoin wallet, be sure to get it in solid steel. You don't want that seed phrase just sitting around on paper. That opens you up to things like fire damage and water damage. So get that peace of mind. The Bill Fodl is awesome. This is how I'm backing up my important Bitcoin wallets. And these guys have a bunch of other stuff too. They got hardware. They've got they've got their Faraday bags. If you're feeling a little tinfoil hattish and you want to block incoming signals to your hardware wallets while you're storing them, well, there you go. So be sure to check them out. privacypros.io/BTC Sessions if you want a little deal at checkout. And finally, shakepay.com. If you're in Canada, this is an easy way to be stacking sats as well. Very simple. You can sign up in minutes. E-transfers in and out. No deposit or withdrawal fees. They cover the Bitcoin transaction fee when you do withdrawal. They definitely encourage self-custody. And if you sign up with the link down below After your first $100 purchase, they'll give you $10 for free. You can then shake your phone every single day for free sats. They've got their Sats Back Visa card, ShakePay program, all kinds of great stuff coming out of ShakePay. So check them out down below at the link in the show notes. And with that, let's dive into the tutorial. So let's start with the reason why. Why would you want to run a Start9 Embassy and host your own Bitcoin infrastructure, or some of the other options that they have out? But we're going to be focusing Bitcoin today. Why would you want to run a Bitcoin node? Well, let's start with the fact that if you download a Bitcoin wallet on your computer or on your phone and you're using it and you have not connected it to your own node that you are running, that means that you are trusting someone else to run a node for you. Now, what does a node accomplish? What is it? What does it have? Well, it hosts a copy of every transaction that has ever happened, as well as the rules that govern the Bitcoin network. Things like how many coins are there going to be? How often are new coins issued? What are the parameters that transactions have to adhere to be considered valid? All of these things are encapsulated in your Bitcoin node. And so if you're trusting somebody else's node to tell you that information, they could give you technically incorrect information. And so by running the software yourself, you get to then enforce those rules and verify them for yourself. So when you receive a Bitcoin transaction, based on the software you're running, you know that that transaction is valid. It works within the rules of the network, and nobody can tell you otherwise. Furthermore, if there's a large group of people that want to try and change Bitcoin, maybe a large group of companies says, hey, we're gonna change the software, and we're gonna say that now there's twice as many Bitcoin. There's gonna be 42 million Bitcoin. We're gonna inflate the supply more than was planned. Well, your node will ignore that change. We'll say, that's not Bitcoin. I'm not running that software. I'm gonna ignore what they're doing. And so when you basically funnel all of your economic activity through your own node, you are both verifying and enforcing the rules that govern the Bitcoin network, and no one can force you to change the software you are running. Furthermore, you can run other applications on top of your Bitcoin node, things like setting up your own Lightning node for quick and cheap transactions on a layer 2 solution. You can also host plenty of other cool tools, one of which I'll show in a bit, Mempool.Space, that allows you to kind of audit the network in terms of what are fees like, Bitcoin blocks, look up transactions and details about them without having to go online to search out that information. You're hosting the information yourself because you have all the transactions, you have all the data. So we're going to get into all of that, but those are some of the reasons why you might want to run it and host it yourself. You're becoming more self-sovereign. You're not dependent on anybody to host and run that data for you. With that, how are you going to go about creating or building this device? That's what we'll talk about next. So it's important to start by saying that you can build this thing yourself from parts that you source from wherever you like. You can buy yourself a Raspberry Pi and all of the peripherals and everything and piece it together and create your own Start9 Embassy. In fact, they have a full do-it-yourself guide on their website. They want you to have the ability to be self-sovereign and use the hardware that you choose, and that's amazing. And they will always advocate for that, and that's why I love them. However, you can also buy a plug and play option where it comes fully shipped, either as a kit where you're going to put it together yourself, or just fully built, ready to go. You literally plug it in and you just start. And so the difference here being is that you'd be buying a fully set up device like this. So this is the Embassy One, or if you want something that, how should I say, is pretty beefy, you can go with the Embassy Pro. And this is like full-on personal server, like you can host everything on that. And just to kind of show the difference, now today I'm working with the Embassy One, but just to kind of see the Embassy Pro, or sorry, the Embassy One is a Raspberry Pi, and you can have a 1 or 2 terabyte drive option, but the Raspberry Pi has 8 gigabytes of RAM. You know, the processor is you know, it's a Raspberry Pi. It's a single board computer. It's small, it's compact, it's limited in power. However, if you're looking at hosting a lot of your own data, videos, pictures, all that kind of stuff, actually having a home personal server, the Embassy Pro is a high-end device. Like, this thing is an Intel Core i7 up to 4.9 gigahertz, 4 cores, 8 threads, 32 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM, 2 terabyte hard drive. My point is, it's a high-end computer to host your life. All right. So take that into consideration when you're looking at what you want to do. But just know that you've got options. You've got the Embassy One, you've got the Embassy Pro, and you've got do it yourself with parts that you source yourself, or with old hardware that you have already sitting around the house. You have options. Today, we will be dealing with the Embassy One as a kit that showed up. So I get to put it together. And so I'm going to be putting it together with you. You can source these parts yourself if you so choose, but it will all be listed with all the information down below. So without further ado, let's put this thing together from the kit. Okay, so first up, you're going to want to download Balena Etcher. So that we can put our software onto our SD card. So you can find that at balena.io/etcher, and I'll have that link down below. Download that program, install it on your computer. Up next, you're going to be going to the GitHub of Start9 Labs, specifically github.com/start9labs/embassy-os/releases. I'll have that link down below. You're going to go to the latest release. Right now, for me, that is 0.3.2.1. Might be different when you go there yourself. Maybe newer version. Anyways, I go to that release. I'm going to scroll down a little bit, and under assets, I'm looking for eos.tar.gz. Okay, and I'm going to download that file. Now, I've already downloaded that file to my computer. And so now I need to use Balena Etcher to get it onto my SD card, which I have plugged into my computer. You can see it on my desktop right here. So let's get that going. Now, once you have downloaded the latest version of Embassy OS and you've got it on your computer, this eos.tar.gz file, you're going to need to double click it, and this will then extract the actual file you're going to need to use with Balena Etcher. So you'll see it's just using here on my Mac archive utility. Basically, it unzips this kind of condensed file and creates this one right here. All right, eos.img, and that's what we're going to use for the SD card. I've now plugged my micro SD card into my computer. We can see it popped up here, and I've opened Balena Etcher. So I'm going to choose Flash from File. I'm going to choose the eos.img file and hit Open. I'm going to select my target, which is this device, which is 32 gigabytes, so I can see it right there. I'll hit Select, and then I'll hit Flash, and I'll let Balena Etcher do its thing. It may ask for a password, as it is doing with my computer here. And once I input that, it'll start creating that bootable micro SD card, which we can then put in our Embassy as we build it. Once it has finished flashing, you'll see on Balena Etcher, flash complete. And at this point, you can eject your micro SD card. So step one, we are just going to open up the enclosure with an Allen key and get out the extra screws. So it looks like we have a fan, a couple additional connectors here. Again, some stands and screws and all that kind of stuff. And an additional cable. So the first thing I'm going to go at here is this fan. They actually include a secondary fan. I guess this one, the Noctua, is a little bit better. And so you're just going to attach it to this bracket here. So the fan that you get by default is this one. Let's put these screws over here. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to unscrew it from the bracket. You still need the bracket here. And you're just going to screw on the other fan instead. So first I'll take this one off. Once you have removed the original fan, you can just discard that to the side. You're going to take the bracket so it's oriented this way. You're going to take the Noctua fan and you're going to place it like so. This is going left, and you're just going to use the screws that you just took out to screw it back on. Should look like this when you're done. Just keep in mind that there's not a lot of leeway to latch on here when you're putting in the screws. It may take a couple of tries to actually get it to hold on, but it will work. Up next, you are going to find this bag here. We're going to be taking out the red and the white wire. These are jumper wires, and these are going to be also connected to our fan. So not this, we don't need that yet. But yeah, these two. And pretty much all you're going to do here is you'll notice that there's two little tabs, and you want to be the furthest to the right when looking at it like such, and you're going to use the first two slots in the top furthest to the right. Now one of these is a ground and one of them is an actual live power connection. So we're actually going to put the white on the right, and red on the slot right next to it. All right, so the two furthest right slots, just in like that. Now, if you do have some electrical tape, you can give this little wrap here and put it all together. I think I'm going to do that right now. All right, there we go. Not perfectly pretty, but it'll do the job. Okay, up next, we're going to be dealing with this board here and your hard drive. And we're going to need a little batch of screws here, which was included with the package. So already took the hard drive out. Basically what we're going to do, first we can disconnect this little USB connector. We'll use that later. But turning this over, there's a little receptacle at the top, and that is where we slide in our hard drive. And so the gold pins facing down, it literally slides in like a Nintendo cartridge. So you just line it up, give it a little push gently, and there we go. Okay, so that's now seated there. And then if you look on the other side, there will be a couple screw holes here, 1, 2, and you're just going to get the little silver screws from this package and screw them into place. And those ones look like, if I can get my hands on one, they look like this. Okay, so we're just gonna screw that on here. There we go. We are all set. We'll continue on from here. Okay, so up next, you're gonna turn over your hard drive. At the bottom, you can see this little 5-volt in, and to the right of that, there's a spot for a screw. And from this previous bag of screws, you're gonna fish out 4 of these little spacers, these female to female, and then 1 of the female to male, and then 3 of these screws that have the little hat on top of it that look like such. Okay, and we're going to be using these. We're going to put them all together into the corresponding screws, but first we're going to deal with this one in the bottom right corner near the 5-volt in. For this one, you're going to grab the female to male. You'll put the male end through, and then you're going to take one of the other spacers on top, and you're just going to screw it on like such until it goes all the way like so. Then you're going to do the same thing, but with these screws coming through the bottom and the female to female on top, so all 4 of them are lined up. Okay, so screw on the bottom, spacer on the top. Voila, looks like so. Black screws on the bottom with the exception of the male to female right there. Okay, so up next we are going to take the board that we just worked on. We're going to grab the speaker here. We've got the other bag of spacers that we had. These are the smaller ones. We've got our micro SD card and we've got our Raspberry Pi. What we'll do first, just to get it out of the way and so we don't forget for later, we'll just stick the micro SD card in the bottom. Perfect. Okay, then we're going to take our speaker. So on the speaker, depending on which side you're looking at, one side will say speaker. That's going to be facing out towards the edge of the board. And on the pins here, you're going to skip the first 2 pins, and looking at it like this, it's the far bottom right side of the board. So on the furthest right bottom pin, you're going to skip that one and the one beside it. And so that should have you plugging in to pins number 3, 4, 5, and 6, like so. So you just slide it on. There we go. And we're all set. And I'll just, there we go. So 2 pins, and again, you can kind of wiggle it in and get it as flush with the board as you can, but it'll look something like that. Up next, we're just going to attach the Raspberry Pi to the board using the spacers that were in that bag. So what you're doing is you're trying to line up the USB so that they are like so. And that should line it up nicely with the little holes in the top there. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's where the spacers are going to go. When you're done, it should look something like this with the 4 screws. And again, you can see them, 1, 2, 3, 4. And depending on how you do it, you can finger screw some of these, but you might, I even just took a Phillips head, even though it doesn't fit in there, and it just helped me kind of get a little bit of traction to spin it around, at least in place. It doesn't have to be super tight, so just so you're aware. All right, so now we're going to deal with the fan, and you kind of need to take the speaker that was sticking straight up before. You're going to kind of tuck it away somewhere in and around this area in the top right. There's 4 little pins by themselves. It's going to kind of sit down here, so you kind of have to, I don't know, massage the wires into this spot, because the fan and the bracket is going to kind of have to go around the speaker, and it's a little tricky at first figuring out where it's going to sit, but I'll get it in place here and you'll kind of see it'll look something like this. Okay, so it is kind of awkwardly in there, but it doesn't really matter. It'll still do the trick. Okay, and you can see there's little holes, and there should be 4 of them. Again, they'll line up, and you're going to go into this bag of screws and again get some of the top kind of flat hatted screws, and you're just going to screw them in to the 1, 2, 3, 4 screws to affix the fan. Once you're done, it'll look something like this. Everything should be all attached, ready to go. Okay, so up next we're going to need this board here. We're going to need a single black screw, same ones we've been dealing with, and we're going to need this connector cable. So what you're going to do is there's a couple USB ports and a headphone jack, and you're going to line those up and just kind of gently push them in this way. And you don't want to push too hard at first, but you're going to do some gentle prodding here, and then you'll gradually get it into place. So be careful with it, but we're going to push it all the way in. I'll show you what it looks like once it's in there. Once everything's properly in place, you should see that this hole is aligned, in which case you can take that one screw that we had and screw it together. Okay, now up next, we still have this fan cable that's off to the side, so let's deal with that. We've got 2 cables actually. We've got the white and the red. Remember, the white is going to be your ground and the red is going to be for the actual power. So what pins are necessary to plug those into? Well, the white is going to go directly to the left of the speaker, And the red is going directly to the right of the speaker, which is a 5-volt pin. Now, just a quick note, if you do want, this is going to make the fan a little bit louder, but it'll cool down the Pi a little bit better. If you prefer the fan not to be as loud, you're going to be going in for the pin in the top right. Okay, so not closest to the bottom of the board here, but the furthest to the right and top. Okay, that would be a 3-volt one, but both top ones are both bottom ones here are 5-volt pins. So we're just going to go white to the left and then red to the right. There. Like so. And then finally with this cable, let's just try and get it out of the way without making sure we don't want it to bump into the fan so that it'll stop spinning. So you're gonna kind of sneak it up and around kind of the top area here as best you can. Okay, so not the prettiest, but this is how I managed to kind of sneak mine in there. It's all relatively flush. And that's what I'm looking for. Okay, a couple last things on the top of the board here. We're going to use this connector cable. Now, this spot here, there's a little lid. It actually just comes off like so. So take that off and remove. And you're going to take one end of this. There's little divots that will face the outside, but connect it all the way down here. Make sure it's in place. And then this is going to go to the open one over here on the right. Like so. There we go. And last thing, if you can see up top, it says fan FS and it says auto on. And there's this little connector thing. It comes off, you're going to pull it off, and you're going to put it on where it says auto on. And so that means if there's a power cut and then you get power again, you have an outage, it'll auto turn on your node again, so you don't have to worry about manually restarting it. Okay, with that all done, let's get this thing inside the enclosure. Now, I've taken off the front plate. You could be doing this the opposite way, but I kind of preferred going this way. So you're going to slide this into the enclosure and then try and line up all the ports with the corresponding holes in the back. Okay, just be careful you don't pull out any cables or anything as you're sliding it in. This red and black one may need a little bit of pushing to get it through, and same thing, the spacers initially you're just going to need to push up a little bit in order to get it in, and then when you go to the back it won't line up perfectly initially. You're going to have to do some playing around and make sure that all of the ports are coming through, including this USB-C and the other USB-A ones or whatever they are. Just make sure that they're all nice and flush like so. That looks pretty good to me. And so now at this point I should be able to put the faceplate back on. And that will look something like this. There we go. And I can see it's good because, hey, there's our power button. It's popping out just a little bit so that it can be pressed. The SD card is in the right spot, which we already placed in. And now we can just screw it back into place with the 2 screws that we initially took out with our Allen key. And again, this could be reversed to the other side if you see fit. And one other quick note, don't forget to put in the 4 flush screws at the bottom of the device. You can see them 1, 2, 3, 4, and that just makes sure that the entirety of what you just put together stays solid within the case and doesn't shake around. Once that's all in and set and good to go, just at the bottom here, there's 4 little circles, and this is just for kind of the rubber cutouts here, so that it's not just scraping along. These all have adhesive on them. You stick them on like so. Alright, this is it. Finally, we'll take this little piece that we took out before, USB connector. It goes into the bottom 2 slots. So this is connecting the hard drive to the actual Raspberry Pi, and it just pushes in like so. You have your Ethernet cable, goes into the back here. You have your power cable, goes in to the far left on the USB-C. And what you finish with is Ethernet cable goes into your router. This obviously goes into the wall, and we should have our running Embassy momentarily. And here we are with the Start9 up and running. Now, I do want to say that the fan that they throw in with this thing is substantial. I can hear it. It does make some noise. That said, I do have other nodes running here, so in terms of sound, it's comparable to, I've got a Raspberry Blitz going down here, and unsure if you can hear the sound coming out of that, but it's comparable, maybe a little bit more than that, but if it keeps it nice and cool, I don't mind. Now, if you've done everything correctly up to this point, you will hear like a beep and a ding that kind of sounds like Super Mario grabbing a coin when you first turn on your Start9 Embassy. If that's the case, then you're going to go to your browser on your computer and you're going to type in embassy.local. You may need to put in http:// the first time in particular before you bookmark it, just so it doesn't do a Google search for that term. But this will lead you to your Embassy setup, and will actually bump you to embassy.local/home. And so you can just save this as a bookmark so you can get there easily. And it gives you the option to either start fresh or recover from a backup or using an existing Embassy data drive. This would be if you were using Embassy before and you had the hard drive from it and you were just starting on a new machine, that would be the case. But we are going to be starting fresh, so I'll click that. Now it says select the drive where your Embassy data will be stored, and that would of course be our inserted SSD that we connected earlier. That's the only option we see here, so we're going to click on that one, and then we're going to give a password to our Embassy. Make sure you write this down. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to hit finish. Once your drive is all set up, you'll get this message: setup complete. You have successfully claimed your Embassy. Access your Embassy using the methods below. You should download this page for your records, which it will auto download and save as a file on your computer. And it will then give you, and I'll scroll down a little bit here, it'll say, hey, visit this address when you're connected to the same Wi-Fi or local network as your Embassy. And it says, note, embassy.local was for setup purposes only. It will no longer work. So this is not how you're going to access your Embassy anymore. You're now going to access it via this link that they give you here. You can copy it or you can go to it directly from this page just by clicking either of these buttons. Furthermore, you can scroll down and it will give you an address via Tor to access your node remotely. Now, I'm not going to show this address because this means somebody could access my node remotely with that address. But nonetheless, if you have Tor browser, you can then access this device from anywhere you may be on the planet, and that is super convenient. So we will jump over to this URL, and we'll start accessing our Embassy, and we're going to bookmark that so that we can save it. I was mistaken in telling you to bookmark the other one. Now, when you try to navigate to the Embassy URL that you're trying to get to, you may get this: your connection is not private. If that's the case, there are instructions to make sure that your computer does indeed trust your Embassy. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be downloading this file that is here on the setup complete page. So you go ahead, you click that. That is here. Now they do have full tutorials on doing this via the Start9 documentation, but nonetheless, this is for my Mac. But you can get to other options here. Just hit follow the instructions and it will tell you exactly what to do. So we basically need to right click and open the file we just downloaded. Okay, so that is here, the CRT file. So I'm just going to open up this right here. We're going to right click and we're going to go open with keychain access. And then we're going to say, do you want to add the certificate of the files Embassy CRT to the keychain? So with this pop-up, we're going to choose system and we're going to hit add. And we'll enter the password for our computer. Hit modify. Now, over on keychain access, I'm going to hit system and I'm going to look for Embassy CRT. So we're scrolling down looking for Embassy. There we go. That's the one. So we're going to right click, or sorry, double click. And then it says, hey, it's not trusted. And we can actually change that under trust. And we're going to choose always trust for everything. And that should be that. At this point, you can close this. It will ask for your password once more. Hit update settings, and you can see that it's now trusted on your system, and that should be it. Jumping back to that setup complete page, we can now see if we do click this button to navigate to the page, it now works, and we can log in to our Embassy with the password we initially set up with it. Hit login. And here we go. So the first thing you're going to want to do on your Embassy is actually set up what applications you're going to be using, because it comes bare bones. There's nothing already installed. So the services, eventually you'll see apps here, but you need to go to the marketplace first. And you can do that by clicking the button right here or going on the left-hand side. Both will lead you to the same place. So within the marketplace, they have some featured apps, they have updates, Bitcoin, communications, data, Lightning, PlebNet tools, and a listing of all. And just when I click on all, you can see the different applications that are currently available at the time of recording this video. So I want to go to Bitcoin first, because what I'm going to need is I'm going to need Bitcoin Core. I want to download a full node for Bitcoin. So that's the first thing I'm going to go ahead and do. And I'm going to go and click it, and I'm going to choose install, and that will begin the install of Bitcoin Core, and we'll continue from there. So once everything is downloaded, installed, all that, it says that, hey, Bitcoin Core needs to be configured. If you click the configure button, it does say that Bitcoin Core has been automatically configured with recommended defaults. Make whatever changes you want, then click save. Now there's a ton of stuff in here. A lot of it can get pretty advanced, but you do have the ability to change really whatever settings you think are necessary, okay? Now I'm just gonna leave the defaults. You can do the same. If you mess with anything and you want to make sure it's back to the defaults, there's a reset button here, but I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And then finally, I'm going to hit start. Once I get to this point, it will now download and sync the entire Bitcoin blockchain. It gives a warning here, this may take several days. So this is kind of the first main part of setting up our node. And so we just now hurry up and wait, go get a coffee, go enjoy your life for a few days, leave this sitting on your shelf doing its thing, come back to it, peek at it in a couple of days, and it should be synced up. So here we are back with Bitcoin Core fully synced, and I've got to say, I'm pleasantly surprised with how quickly it happened. I've synced with other node implementations, and this was by far the fastest. Now I do have a very fast internet connection, but I've previously sat through 3-4 days for a sync. This one took about 36 hours, so pretty damn quick. Which was impressive for me. Anyways, nonetheless, it is all synced up and running here. Everything's all set. Before we get into how to connect wallets and all that, I want to show you what I've done. I've gone ahead and installed some other options. So, you know, in the marketplace, we went through all of the different things you can get. Well, once you've downloaded them, they show up as services here in your installed folder. And so we can see here's Bitcoin Core, but I now have a bunch of other stuff. Some of this stuff I've set up, kind of like with Bitcoin Core, how you had some prompts up here. Oh, what do you need to do next now that this is installed? Well, it's the same with some of these other ones that I've installed. So a few things that I think are important that you get out the gate if you're going to be running this as kind of like a Bitcoin stack, where perhaps you're connecting your wallets to it and perhaps you're running a Lightning node, things like that. Well, this is where you're going to be doing it. So Bitcoin proxy for a lot of these things is going to be necessary. So that's something that you download and install. Electrum server, Rust server, or elect RS, how do you say it? Anyways, that is another one that is important to use for connecting external wallets. And then it's nice to have a block explorer, and Mempool is fantastic for that. We'll get into the details of what that is. But I just want to show you some of these other ones that aren't fully set up, what it will look like if you have something that maybe needs some tweaking in order to get it running. So let's take a look at this Spark Wallet one. So Spark Wallet is a way to interact with your Lightning node if you're running Core Lightning. So Spark Wallet, if you just download it out the gate, it's going to say, hey, there are dependencies. Now, what are dependencies? It means you need to be running this other thing in order for this application to work. So it tells me, hey, you need to be running Core Lightning. That makes this app that you want to use work. And so I can actually click on that and it will take me directly to Core Lightning, which, by the way, I've already downloaded. But if not, it'll allow me to download it there as well. So let's take a look at that. Let's imagine I downloaded Spark Wallet or any other application from the Start9 marketplace. And it says, hey, it needs configuration. And it says, look, it's got dependencies. And so it says, hey, Core Lightning, it's not running. Spark Wallet will not work as expected. So I can click on this and it takes me to my Core Lightning, which I've already downloaded, or it will in turn take you to where to download it. So now I can go ahead, and this one, it just says, hey, you just need to configure it. So I'm going to hit configure. And again, Core Lightning has been automatically configured with recommended defaults. Make whatever changes you want, then click save. Now, your alias on your Lightning node is what it will be visible as to others on the Lightning network. So I'm going to be calling this one Sessions Embassy, and I'm going to hit save. All right, it says config not satisfied. Core Lightning will not work as expected. Let's check this one now. It says, hey, the following modifications have been made to Bitcoin Proxy, which is another app. And it says, users add a new entry to accept these modifications, click save. So a lot of these things will just say, hey, something changed because you're using a new app. If you agree to this, then just hit save. So I hit save. Okay, now it says satisfied. All right, so a lot of these times you may see some sort of notification there. It's just letting you know that some settings are changing in order to get one of these applications to work. So now I can see, well, everything looks good. There's no notifications that are popping up telling me something's not ready. Now I can hit start. And so this will now start up Core Lightning, which is a way to utilize and interact with the Lightning Network, run channels, all of that. And so this will, again, sync up and get running here. We'll see what it looks like in a moment when that's all done. All right, so that didn't take very long. It was just a couple of minutes. And now I can see that everything is all synced up and it's running. So fantastic. Let's go back to that original app that we were looking at that we wanted to run, which was Spark Wallet. So, and I can just hit back to get back to it, or again, from my services, I can see Spark Wallet right here. Note that Core Lightning is now running. So if I click on Spark Wallet, it now says the dependencies, this one is satisfied. Now, the reason I'm taking you through this process of, hey, I have an app, oh wait, I need to do something else, before it will work is because I did the exact same thing with Electrum and Bitcoin proxy. So I wanted to use Electrum server. I wanted to install and get that running. And then it said, hey, you have dependencies. You have Bitcoin proxy that you need. I didn't even have it downloaded. So I downloaded it, installed it, got it running. And then I was able to start running Electrum server. So you'll encounter things like this. And what I'm trying to get across here is you may need other things to be downloaded and settings to be updated, and just kind of click on things and hit save for individual apps to work. And this gives you a lot of granularity in how you use the applications, and to make sure that you approve of the changes that are taking place. So anyways, back to Spark Wallet. I can now see the dependency is satisfied, so I can just hit configure, and it says, hey, Spark Wallet has been automatically configured with recommended defaults. Make whatever changes you want, then click save, and I can just change my username here to whatever I want. So I'll just change it that, and I'll hit save. Okay, and then I can hit start. And once that's all synced up and set, you'll be able to actually use the application. We will get into using the application itself after we investigate the rest of our Start9 Embassy here. But we now have it up and running. We can go back to services, and we can see, hey, Core Lightning and Spark Wallet are running. There's a few other things here that I'm going to set up, but I'm just going to mention again, I'm going to highlight the ones that I think that you should probably start yourself off with, and we'll go from there. So Bitcoin Core, big one. Electrum server and Bitcoin proxy are necessary for external wallet connections in a lot of cases. So get those up and running. For Lightning, you actually do have some options. Now, in this instance, I am using Core Lightning, and you can also use another one in the marketplace that is LND, or Lightning Network Daemon. Either one will do the trick. I have LND on another node, so I'm doing C Lightning for this one. I like having different implementations. So yeah, Core Lightning is what I'm using for this one, but if you want, LND will do you just fine. And so LND allows you to, or Core Lightning allows you to set up channels and everything, but you're going to want an interface, like a nice web interface to be able to interact with it. And so I'm going to be using Ride the Lightning for this. And so that one we can see needs configuration. I'm going to hit configure. Again, you can, it says Ride the Lightning automatically configured, If you want to make changes, hit save. If not, so I'm just going to go ahead. It says Embassy LND. We want Embassy, I'm going to say CLN. I think that should be good. I'm just going to double check. Name of this node in the list. Yeah, I'm going to change it to Core Lightning. So this is where the settings are actually going to matter for you. So we're using Core Lightning. So it's important to kind of just take a quick peek at what you're doing. So we have a Lightning node. It's C Lightning that I'm using. So I changed the name of it to Embassy CLN instead of Embassy LND, just to reflect what I'm actually using. And then I need to choose the type of node that I'm running. So I'm running Core Lightning. I'm going to hit OK. And then, do I need anything in connection settings? No, I can just leave that. I don't need to mess around with that too much. So this is an instance where, indeed, I did need to make a change here. So just pay attention to whether you're using LND or C Lightning. I'm going to hit save. There we go. And I can hit start. So that's now up and running as well. We can back out of that. And again, I've got a couple other things running here. So Specter, I can just go ahead, configure. Don't need to make any changes here. Again, I'm going to hit save and start. Oh, Specter has, oh, my bad. We'll hit for the dependencies, save. I may have, we'll hit stop here. anyways, I've now saved the dependency in Bitcoin proxy, and I'll relaunch Specter. I just hit stop because I did that a little bit preemptively, got a little excited here. Hit start again, and now all the dependencies are met, just as I've done with other ones. And again, this will sync up and get running. All right, and then it looks all good, so I'll back out of that. I'm not going to mess with RoboSats for right now. Maybe you can look at my RoboSats video, which I've done a dedicated video on that itself. But everything else here is up and running. We can see all the green lights across the board. So now that we've done that, we can get into how the hell you're going to use all of this now that it's ready to go. Up first, we're going to see how to connect a Bitcoin wallet to our own node. Now, the reason you would want to do this is because if you just by default download a Bitcoin wallet and start using it and you have not connected it to your own node, you're trusting somebody else who is running a node to provide you with information pertaining to your own transactions. So basically telling you if you have money, if you properly send a transaction or receive a transaction, or even what Bitcoin is and what the rules of Bitcoin are. By designating it to point to your own Bitcoin node, then you're trusting your own copy of the Bitcoin blockchain and whatever software you are running instead. So we're going to take a look in Sparrow Wallet. And the way that you connect your own node with Sparrow Wallet, this is for desktop, by the way. I have a full tutorial on it. You can see that in the links down below. But you're going to go to Sparrow. You're going to find preferences, depending on if you're on Mac or Windows. Sparrow, you just click on the Sparrow menu and hit Preferences. In Windows, it'll be under File. But you're going to go to Preferences, and then you're going to go to Server. Now, I've covered up the information here as it is sensitive, but they give you room to put in a URL, and though it's hidden, a port number. So I'll move this over a little bit so you can see, but there's a port number here, and that information is not as worrisome to share. Nonetheless, you've got two little blocks in which you can paste in some information, and where you find that information over on your Embassy is you would go to Electrum Server, and then you would simply go down to Properties. Now, the URL that you're going to use actually would be the host name here. So you can just simply click the copy button. It'll be copied to the clipboard, and then you can paste it in to the correct box. And then just below the port number, which it says is commonly 50001, can also be copied here. So you just jump back to your Sparrow wallet, you paste in the URL, you can paste or type in the 50001 for the port number. And this will be, of course, after you hit edit existing connection, you will be able to paste that in. So I'm going to do that off stage, and then I'll show you what this button turns into afterwards. Once I've pasted in that information, it will change to say test connection. So you're simply going to tap that button. It will give you kind of a, all right, we're attempting to connect here. It may take a moment given that is connecting over Tor, but then eventually you will hopefully see a success message here. So I'm going to hit the test connection button. We'll come back when I see that message. And after about a minute, I can see it's connected to Electrum Server, and everything is all good to go. At this point, I can hit the close button, and it may show me a message in the bottom left of Sparrow saying that it is now officially connecting. Once that is done, this little toggle switch will be on, and it will be blue. So I'm just going to close this window. We'll come back when that is all done. And so now that all is said and done, I can see that I have the blue toggle switch down below. If you do hover over it, you can see your connection information. And if for any reason you see something that says, oh, can't retrieve wallet transaction history or something like that, simply go up to View and then hit refresh wallet, and it'll do a quick scan to check for previous transactions, and then you should be fine. Now, in terms of other options for connecting wallets, just as examples, here is Blue Wallet that you can use on mobile and desktop. And to get into the settings here, let's see, you would go Preferences, and depending on if you're on mobile, it may be the three little dots in the top right-hand corner. But you're going to go to Preferences, and you're going to go to Network, and then Electrum Server, and you would paste in the appropriate information here. And another quick example, here's Blockstream Green. Same kind of thing, you go into the app settings, and then if you scroll down, you see, hey, choose Electrum servers you trust, and it's a toggle switch you can turn on, and you can paste in the appropriate info. Now, one thing I will note here is in the other two examples, or in Sparrow Wallet, it separated out the actual URL and the port number, whereas here, you add the port number to the end. So you add a colon and then 50001. So you'll just kind of have to pay attention to how they structure it. Oftentimes it'll be separate, but in some cases it'll be all together and you just put a colon and then the port number at the end. So you just watch for those. It may take a bit of tinkering. If you put it in wrong, the worst thing that's going to happen is it'll just say that the link didn't work and then you can try something different. But nonetheless, this should give you an idea of how to correctly connect your wallets to your own node. In some instances, I will show you here. Let's go back to our services, main services page. You may need to go into Bitcoin Core instead. And this would be if the node settings on your wallet ask for RPC credentials. And so this also is within Bitcoin Core, but under the properties. Okay, and then all of this is here. Again, you can just hit the copy button and paste in whatever information is required of you there, and that will give you access, once again, to your own Bitcoin node, so you don't have to reference somebody else's. Now, if you want to use a wallet that is running on your actual embassy, then you can use something like Specter, which is one of the applications that I downloaded from the get-go. So to run Specter, there is just a little button here that will launch the interface. So I'm just going to click that. It'll open up a new window here. And this is our Specter wallet interface. You can create hot wallets in here. You can use your cold storage, whether it be a cold card or another type of hardware device that you use to manage your keys. You can create multi-sig wallets. You can do all kinds of stuff here. Now, because this is a remote machine, typically you would download this software just directly onto your desktop and connect it to Bitcoin Core that you have running there. But this is a dedicated device and I'm accessing this remotely from my laptop at the moment. And so it says here, hey, are you using this from a remote machine? If you run Specter on a remote machine like Umbrel or Mynode or Start9 Embassy, you need to update settings to connect hardware wallets via USB. So if you're going to be hardwiring in, like a Trezor or a Ledger or something like that, or your cold card, then you just need to update these settings. So you're going to hit update your settings. And then it says, okay, how do you want to do this? It says local USB connection. That would be if Specter is installed on this computer. It is not. It is on a separate device. Remote Specter USB connection. Select this if Specter is installed on a different machine. This is the one we want. We're going to click that. Then it says down below, before changing these settings, if you haven't done so already, head to Preferences on your desktop. Select the option to connect remotely if you're using Specter Desktop. This is not Specter Desktop. It's running natively on our Start9 Embassy. So we should be able to, and it does say down here the exact instructions. So you might also need to allow Specter to communicate with the device bridge. We will see. We're going to hit save changes and then we can test it out afterwards. So we're going to hit save. Looks like that seems to be okay. But we may need to go through this momentarily. Okay. So let's just take a look, see how it goes. And you're going to get like a quick overview of Specter to make sure that this is working properly. But if you want a more in-depth overview of how to use Specter, create wallets, make multi-sig, all that kind of stuff, then I will link my full Specter video in the show notes down below. All right, flash forward a few minutes later. The initial setup didn't work, but I've discovered all you need to do. So you are going to indeed download Specter Desktop to your computer. That will just be installed as an application normally. What you're going to do, and this is Specter Desktop here, you're actually going to go to Specter and you're going to go to Preferences, and then it's going to say, do you want to connect a remote Specter? And you're going to say, yes, I run it remotely. And you're going to paste in the URL, which was provided down below. This one right here. Now, while this may look like a Tor address, it is indeed not. Notice .local. It's on your local network. So you're just going to copy that URL. You're going to paste it here, and then you're going to click Save. And this basically creates a bridge between the computer you're on and your Start9 Embassy. And you don't need to click Tor or basic authentication, any of that. You just need to hit yes and paste in that, hit save. It will shut down Specter for you, and then it will ask you to restart it. So you just open up the application again. So at this point, I've already done it. It's already connected. I don't need to actually use this. I can close it, but if you'll notice, it's still open and running in the top of my Mac here. So it's still running in the background. And what this does is it will allow me to detect a hardware device. I currently have a hardware device plugged in and unlocked on my computer, not on the Start9 Embassy, but on my computer, on my laptop. And so I can just hit test connection here. And we see device detected successfully. USB connections are working. All right. So at this point, effectively, you can add a new device. You can choose the type of device that you have plugged in, or if you're air gapping it, if you're using like a cold card and you have an SD card, you can basically select, and then you can get via USB or upload from SD card, and you can add those wallets. There's devices to be used here. You can also add a new wallet. You can add a single key wallet, a multi-sig wallet, and in this case, it will actually have you create a key. And so you can here basically choose what you're using, but the way that Specter does this is it actually requires you to use the XPubs or the devices themselves first to be considered a device or a key that is possible to be used. And then you add a wallet and then you designate, well, I want to use it as a single sig, or I have a bunch of different devices and I'm going to combine them into a multi-sig, and that one will be up here as well. So you can use it however you want. For hot wallets, you can see Bitcoin Core right there. It'll give you a 12-word mnemonic. You can generate new ones as many times as you want. You can designate 12 or 24 words, or you can import a mnemonic to be used here within Specter. Obviously, the ones that I just cycled through, I won't be using, but that is how you would do it. And then you would manage it here within, and you'd be able to transact just as you would with a regular wallet, but it's actually based on your own node. Now for this whole Lightning section, I'm going to be giving you kind of a rundown of some of the Lightning Network basics that come with running your own node. So setting up the node, having an interface, and being able to interact with your Lightning node transactionally, sending and receiving payments in a couple of different ways. So we're going to go through that, but just know that there's no one size fits all here. We're going to be using a certain type of Lightning implementation. We're going to be using a certain type of interface with it, and this can change from person to person depending on your preferences. I will link below a playlist on everything Lightning that I've done. So if you decide to go with LND, which is the opposite implementation from what we'll be using here, or you want to use ThunderHub, which again is a different interface from what we're going to be using here, or you want to use Zeus to connect to your Lightning wallet on the go, all of those things are going to be linked within that playlist. So just look in the show notes down below. You'll find a Lightning playlist and you'll be able to find tons of options there, plus different ways to open channels and get inbound channels and all the different stuff that you'll be learning about as you dive into Lightning. But what we'll be doing here will at least get you started up and running with a few channels and able to transact. So without further ado, let's dive into Lightning. We have 3 different applications that we've downloaded here on our Start9 Embassy. We have Core Lightning. This could be replaced, as I said, with LND, but today we're dealing with Core Lightning. This is basically the implementation of Lightning that we're running, but we need a way to interact with it. How do we create channels and fund the wallet and all that? And that is what Ride the Lightning is for. Ride the Lightning allows you to send an on-chain transaction, open channels to other nodes, manage your fees. All that stuff is going to be done through Ride the Lightning. And then finally, we also added Spark Wallet. Now this I added because it's a very simplistic wallet implementation that interacts with your Core Lightning implementation there. So you can basically just have the send and receive functions on this. It cuts out all the noise of dealing directly with Ride the Lightning if you just want to do a basic transaction. So we don't need to do anything in Core Lightning right now. All we need to do is open Ride the Lightning. And we're just going to use, again, the little button off to the right will launch the user interface. Now, this password is actually designated and randomly generated within the Embassy itself. So you're going to go to the Ride the Lightning app here, and it will be under Properties. And so this, again, it's hidden, but I can just hit the copy button. I'll be able to paste that in on my Ride the Lightning screen and hit Login. All right, and we were bumped to our main screen of Ride the Lightning. And so this is where we're going to basically be beefing up this node so that it actually has outgoing and incoming channels. Now, when you're running a Lightning node, you need to set it up so that you can both send and receive payments. And you're going to be creating channels to do so. Think of this as locking up Bitcoin between you and another individual so that you can spend not only to that individual, but anyone that they're connected to, and anyone that they're connected to, and so on and so forth. So it's like bumping beads on an abacus all the way down the line until you reach somebody that's 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon away, is kind of the easy way to describe it. But you also need that on the incoming. So we'll take a look as we go through this, but the quick navigation here on your main screen on the dashboard, you're going to see your node information, the alias that we set up earlier, what implementation we're using, which is Core Lightning, and we're on our main chain of Bitcoin, our balances if we have Lightning or if we have on-chain, and our total. The total capacity of the node, that means how much can you send and receive, how much is locked up in channels associated with your node. You can see your routing fees, and then you can also see any channels that you have down below. You can also get to all of this over on the side. So if we click on on-chain, this is where we can receive an on-chain payment, which then can be used to lock up into channels. It's also where if we close channels or if we have leftover Bitcoin and we don't want it sitting on our node, well, we can send it out to an external Bitcoin wallet. If you go to Lightning, there's a drop down and there's a whole bunch of stuff here. Peers and channels, transactions, routing, reports. There's a lot here. I'm not going to do a super deep dive, but I'll give you the basics of what you need to know out the gate so you have a basic understanding of how you're going to be setting this up. And then we have our node config here. You can do things like, well, do I want to be able to see the fiat conversion, like the dollars that the Bitcoin is worth, or do I just want to be dealing with sats? And then you can also set colors and all that kind of stuff. So pretty basic stuff here. And then you can also see your public key. This information is used for people to connect to your node and open a channel with you. So we'll go through all of that momentarily, but first things first, we need to get some Bitcoin onto this Lightning node. And so what we're going to be doing here is right here, you have receive, send, and sweep all. So receive is the tab we want to be on. We're going to hit generate address. And here's an on-chain address that I can send Bitcoin to. Now, if you're setting up a node, it's very likely that you're already familiar with how to send a regular Bitcoin transaction. So I'm not going to be diving into that. But yeah, you're just going to use this address and you're going to send some Bitcoin to this. I'm going to be sending a few million sats because I like to open up a couple channels so that I have different routes to be able to reach other nodes. So I'll send over a transaction here, and then we will see what it looks like once that lands. Okay, so it's been some time. I hit refresh in my browser and I can see that my on-chain balance has now increased. I've got around 5.6 million sats, which is about 0.056 Bitcoin. And you can see the UTXO down below, the little green light. So it's all confirmed. Everything's ready to go. So that means that these funds can now be utilized in the opening and establishment of Lightning channels so that I can spend out from my node. Now, how you do that is over here on the left. We're going to hit the drop down on Lightning. We're going to go to peers and channels. Now, what we want to do is we want to add a peer, which we can then open a channel with. So there's two tabs here. We're going to hit peers. We're going to hit add a peer. And this is where we're going to input the information for the node we want to connect with, or one of them anyways. I'm going to do two channels here. One is going to be to one of my other nodes that I am currently running. I know it's got decent channels connected to it, so this is going to be one of my outbound spending channels for my embassy. So all I'm going to do is this is, by the way, is amboss.space, is a pretty good website to look up nodes. Now, if you're super unfamiliar with the website, highly recommend. It's awesome. Great place to find and kind of audit what's going on with various nodes. But you can scroll down, you can kind of investigate and search and find different nodes here. You can look for top ranking nodes. Tons of great stuff you could do. Nonetheless, the information to connect to this particular node would be right here. Now, this can be displayed as a QR code, but we need to copy the information here. So we're just going to hit the copy button. We'll jump back to Ride the Lightning, or RTL. So I'm going to paste that information in here. And that's everything that we need. So it fills all the information. We can see there's no error messages or anything like that. So I'm just going to hit add peer. It might take a second to attempt to connect to that node. Once it gets through connecting and adding a peer, then you will be provided with the option to also open a channel, which we're going to do. By the way, you may, on occasion, find out that you can't add a particular peer, or that a particular Lightning node has limitations on the size of channels. So some of the most popular nodes may say, well, you've got to open a channel of at least this size. Otherwise, I'd prefer not to open a channel at all. So just be aware, you may encounter this, and you just got to try different nodes if that's the case early on. You may not want to put a ton of money into channels, so it's totally up to you. But I'll show you another website afterwards too, where you can find various Lightning nodes to connect to. Nonetheless, I'm going to open a channel here for 2 million sats. Okay, so you type in the amount of sats that you want here, and then it will give you a remaining balance as well. You can choose if you want a private channel. I'm going to leave this one as is, and then you choose a fee rate. The fee rate, this would be the on-chain Bitcoin fee that you're paying in order to send the transaction to set up the channel. So if you're not in a huge rush, you can set this to normal or slow, or do custom. But for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to do urgent. You can tick minimum confirmation in the number of blocks and then enter that information here. But no, I'm just going to do the fee rate, and I will do urgent. And at this point, I'm going to hit open channel. Once that is established, you will see that little window disappear, and you won't really necessarily see anything change here. But if you go over to the channels tab, you won't see an open channel yet, but you'll see in pending and in active right here, there's a connected node or a connected peer, and we have a pending open for 2 million sats. So that will be updated to reflect that we have a 2 million sat channel after a few confirmations. So it might take a little bit, maybe an hour or so, depending also on the fee that you set. If it doesn't confirm right away, it might take a little bit longer than that. Nonetheless, we can just leave this be and come back when it is officially open, and we'll be able to spend through that channel. Also note that it does get a little bit funny up here in Ride the Lightning in terms of total balance. It shows, it kind of gets a little wonky with the balances at the current time of recording this video, but once those transactions are confirmed, this will go back to normal. I don't actually have a balance of 9.2 million sats. It's doing a funky thing where it's reading the confirmed amount that I previously had and then combining it with the unconfirmed change from creating that 2 million sat channel. Again, this will all sort itself out once there's confirmations, and it won't be confused by that. So at this point, I'm going to go through and I'm going to do the exact same thing, adding a peer and opening a channel with them with one more node. And I'm going to be utilizing a website here called terminal.lightning.engineering. And this allows you to basically sort through some of the top rated nodes and basically take a look at, how many good channels and peers and everything do they have? How long have they been up and running? Lots of great information here. You could simply sort through, pick one that might look good to you, and then when you click on it, you'll see connection info that is here. There might be a couple different links, ClearNet and Tor, and you simply copy and paste that in as you're adding a peer, as we did before. So I'm going to find a good node here. I will connect to one, and then we'll be back when both of the channels are up and ready to go. All right, so those channels are now fully confirmed on the Bitcoin blockchain, meaning that they are open and able to spend. So I've got one for 2 million sats and one for 2.5 million sats that are available to be spent outbound. We can also see that the updated on-chain balance has been ironed out now that everything is all confirmed. And if I head back to my dashboard, we can really see everything laid out in front of us. We've got 4.5 million sats in Lightning. We still have 1.1 million sats on chain. There's our two channels, our capacity, and we can see like an overview. Hey, we've got 2 active channels with a capacity of 4.5 million. All of that right there. Now, we are able to spend from this Lightning node, but we're not yet able to receive. Everything that we opened was locked up on our side of the channel. So picture an abacus. All of the beads are on our side for both of these channels. So we can bump those beads to the other side of a channel and make payments that way, but we can't yet receive. We would have to spend to receive. So we need somebody to open a channel to us. Now you can get anybody to do this if you know that they have a Lightning node and they're willing to open a channel with you. But if you're really stuck, you don't have anybody to open a channel with you, well, then there are services that allow you to request channels and pay a small fee for them to open and lock up Bitcoin with you. So we need that inbound channel. We're going to go just from our dashboard here on the left-hand side, we can actually see down at the bottom our public key. So we're going to click on that, and this is our node pub key. This is the information that somebody will need in order to open a channel with us. You can also change this to the node URI, which has the full link that somebody would actually need here. And so that's what I'm going to be copying. You can hit the copy button there, or you can highlight it and copy that way. That works just fine. So this is the information we need to give to somebody to open a channel with us. Well, we're going to get a channel opened by this website. It's called blocktank.to. And if you click on the widget button, it will swing you down the page to this part. So there's a bunch of stuff above it. But I already typed in here, I'd like a 2 million sat channel opened to me. Now you have the option of saying, I'd like my spending balance to be a bit more. So they can actually open a channel and bump a portion of this amount to your side, in which case you'll be paying them not only what you want in spending balance, because it's coming right back to you, but then also the fee for opening the channel. Now, I don't need a spending balance because we just opened a couple other channels outbound. This, I just want to be strict inbound liquidity, the ability to receive payments. So I'm going to leave that as is. I have 2 million sats inbound. We have a spending balance of 0. Keep in mind we can spend through those other channels. And I'd like them to keep the channel open for at least 12 weeks. This is the default here. You can adjust this if you like. I'll type 12 though. That sounds good. So I'm going to hit create my channel. So it says, hey, this is what you requested, inbound capacity of 2 million, no balance to spend, so just the ability to receive up to 2 million sats. They say you're going to need to pay 1,427 sats, which is actually only around 24 cents. Pretty cheap. It's one of the cheaper options out there. That could change over time, but nonetheless, I'm happy with that. So I'm going to hit accept. I'm going to hit pay now. Now, you can pay them either on-chain or via Lightning. So I'm going to pay this via another Lightning wallet that I have open on my desktop. So we will do that momentarily here. So we have an invoice here, which I can just copy. And then I've opened up Blue Wallet on my desktop. It immediately detects that I have something in my clipboard. So I can just hit continue, or I can hit send, and I can paste in the invoice right here. So I can see here, it fills the information, 1,427 sats, around 24 cents. I'm going to hit pay. All right, that shows as having gone off. Jump back, payment received. Okay, now you can claim the channel. There's a claim URL that you can copy, but you can actually claim it manually as well. And so the way I'm going to do this manually because it will likely work that way for most people dealing in this manner. I'm going to hit claim manually, and then you're going to paste in your node URI, which was what we were just looking at, this URI right here. So I have that copied now. I'm going to paste it in. We get to designate if it's a private channel or not. I'm going to leave it normally. And then I'm going to hit open channel. All right. It says ready to connect and establish your channel. Please ensure your node or wallet app is online and active. And it lets us know what's going on in terms of what the time is, the inbound capacity, and that the channel will stay open for at least 12 weeks. So we should see that pop up in our node momentarily. We'll check back in a moment. Okay, so some time has passed. I've actually done a few additional things here. On top of letting those channels finally confirm, I went through, I got, as I said, another incoming transaction from Blocktank. So that one has now confirmed right here. I also got an inbound channel from LN Big, which is similar to what Blocktank allows you to do. You just fill out your information for your node, and you can get an inbound channel. You just drag here for the amount. It lets you know how much you're going to be charged, so on and so forth. Same idea. I'm not going to go through the process here, but just know that it's very similar. And then I also opened another outbound channel to this node, which is async. It's one of the top nodes. And so that just kind of ensures quality of outbound payments for me. So I've got 5 channels going now. You can see them, and there has been some movement through them. So I've tested a couple transactions to make sure everything is going ahead just fine. But here we are. Everything is all set up and we're ready to transact. Now, if you would like to connect to my Embassy node via a Lightning channel. I will leave all the credentials for that down below. Also, if you're searching on any Explorer, Lightning Explorer like Amboss or 1ML or whatever it may be, it is Sessions Embassy that you can find on there, and that will be my node. I've verified it via Amboss as well, but nonetheless, the credentials are down below. So if you feel like getting an outbound channel via my node, feel free to connect with me down below. So let's just go ahead and demonstrate sending and receiving payments now that we have all of our channels up and running. We're going to go over to the Lightning tab here. We'll do the drop down and we'll find transactions. And here we have two tabs, payments and invoices. All right, so this would be paying out, and invoices would be creating an invoice to receive funds. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to send a payment, but we need to create an invoice or receive an invoice from someone. I've got on my other screen here Blue Wallet, just as an example. So I'm going to hit receive there. I'll put in an amount, let's say 100, well, let's do, I don't know, 250 sats, something like that. We'll create the invoice. This will create a scannable QR code, but then down below, there's the actual invoice. I can just click on that to copy it, and then I'll be able to use it within Ride the Lightning. So I'm going to hit send payment here. And let's say somebody sent you an invoice. You can simply paste it in there. It auto detects what the invoice is for. You can see down below 250 sats. And I'm going to hit send payment. All right, and we get the notification, payment sent successfully. Let's check Blue Wallet. There we go, it has been received. I can X out of that. And then we see a few seconds ago, 250 sats coming in to the wallet. Perfect. So what about the inverse? What if we want to receive a payment? Well, I can go to invoices, create invoice. I can give it a description, test from Blue, we'll call it. What do we want to receive? Maybe we'll do like 150 sats, just as an example. And then you can set an expiry. How long is this invoice going to be up for? And there's a drop down here. You choose the how long you want this to be good for. We'll just do a short one for right now. We'll do 5 minutes. Okay. So 150 sats. This is only an invoice that will be around for 5 minutes. We'll hit create invoice. Again, scannable QR code for anybody, or you have the invoice right here, which you can hit copy, and then you can send that to anybody you like. So for example, go over to Blue Wallet. It does auto detect it. So I'll just hit continue. And it says, hey, look, somebody wants you to pay 150 sats, and it expires in 5 minutes. All right. So we're going to hit pay, and off it should go momentarily. And there we go. Everything's all sent. Now, I have encountered here on Ride the Lightning, sometimes it won't give you a notification here. Really easy to bypass if you're sitting there. I mean, we already saw it sent from the original wallet. So you can just X out of this and hit refresh. Notice on these invoices here, it'll say how much the amount is for and then how much was settled. Right now it shows as nothing. Nothing has been settled. We haven't received anything. If I just refresh the browser, all right, and we can indeed see that it was settled. There's 150 sats right there that came in, test from Blue. Now, in terms of alternatives in order to send and receive transactions, recall that we did download Spark Wallet, which actually is something that can refer to your Core Lightning node. And it's a very simplified version of what we just did. Recall, again, in Ride the Lightning, it's all under the Transactions tab on the left. And, you know, it looks a little bit more complex to interact with. Well, with Spark Wallet, again, you just click to open it up. It's already open in another tab here. Much simpler layout, right? Previous transactions, you have your channel balance, leftover, what's on chain, and then you have simple pay and receive buttons. So again, just as an example here, let's create an invoice, just a simple one for 100 sats here in Blue Wallet. create that invoice, once again, it'll create a QR code, and then we can copy the invoice down below. We can just go here, hit pay, paste in the invoice, decode. That just allows it to read what the invoice says, 100 sats. All right, do you want to pay it? Go ahead. And then it'll send off here. We should get a notification momentarily that it's gone through, and then we can check Blue Wallet to confirm. All right, we can now see transaction confirmed. Hop over to Blue Wallet. There it is, confirmed in our Blue Wallet as well. And the inverse is true. If I hit receive, I can create a payment amount that I'd like to receive. Again, maybe we'll just do 50 sats as an example. By the way, you can tap here in the corner to change between USD, sats, bits, millibits, BTC. I'm not a big fan of those in between denominations. Sats is just fine for me. Can add again, receive from Blue. We'll hit continue. This creates our invoice. We've got a QR code and we've got an invoice here, which we can copy. And then we'll just jump back over to Blue Wallet. Within Blue, you can hit send this time just as a test. We'll paste in the invoice. Once it reads what the invoice says, we can hit the pay button. All right, that is sent off. Jump back here and successfully went through. We do get the notification here. So again, you may encounter, again, like on Ride the Lightning, I had to refresh the screen. Spark, not the case here. It just shows me I can X out of that notification. But yeah, there we go. So just a simplified way of sending and receiving payments if you don't need to be diving into your settings and doing other actions. Spark is just a basic interface that you can default to. Now for remote access to your Lightning node, there's a couple options for examples here. So again, we're running core Lightning. So in some instances, you may be running LND, as I alluded to in the options when we first picked our applications. For either core Lightning or LND, a good option would be Zeus. And Zeus, again, it's available iOS and the Google Play app stores. And you download this, and when you're setting up a Lightning node, you can basically scan a QR code. Now, I'm not going to go through the setup for this. I do have a video on how to utilize Zeus, and I'll link that down below if you're interested in using it. But more or less, in your embassy, you're just going to choose your Lightning implementation, which would be core Lightning in this instance, or it might be LND for you. You click on it, you go to properties, and then there'll be a quick connect URL, and there's a little button. I'm not going to click it now, but you click it, it'll bring up a QR code that you can scan from Zeus. So just go check out that video if that's what you want to do, and this would be the QR code you scan in order to connect and then be able to send and receive payments remotely from your node. Alternatively, we use Spark here on our desktop, but you can also get an app here, Spark Lightning Wallet, and this will connect to your node as well. More or less the same interface you can see here, same kind of idea. And the way you access that, once again, you can go ahead and within Spark, there is properties again, and then there's a pairing URL. And you can just click, open up the QR code and scan that with Spark Wallet. Same flow as Zeus, more or less. As soon as you open it up, it'll ask you if you want to connect to your node. And this is how you do it, just from that QR code here within Spark. So a couple easy ways to connect and remotely access your Lightning node on the fly. Now I want to highlight the one other application that we've added here in our Bitcoin stack, and that is Mempool. And this is just, again, such a wonderful tool to be able to run independently yourself. And I'll show you what it does, and I'll explain why you will likely want to run it yourself if you're running a Start9 Embassy. So we're just going to click to pop it open here. And this gives you a full rundown of the Bitcoin mempool, how many transactions are in waiting, what you might want to place your fees at, and just a ton of great information here. So To the right here, we see all of the recently added Bitcoin blocks and the transaction fees on average that were paid within each block. Then, trailing to the left here, we see the queue of upcoming Bitcoin blocks and the top fees paid within those blocks. And we can see, so in order to get into this block, you're going to need to pay around 26 sats per byte. The transactions in there range from 2 to 301 sats per byte. There's 1.59 megabytes worth of transactions there ready. And there's somewhere in the range of 2,400 transactions. And it should be confirmed roughly in about 10 minutes or so. Now, down below, you get kind of a summary of what you might need to pay in terms of fees. So high priority typically means in the next block. This will be the first and second block, and this will be second and third, and then no priority where you don't really care, or it just might take a bit longer, would be here. So we can see 2 sats per byte, 15 sats per byte, 27 sats per byte. So we get a decent idea of, okay, well, where do I want to be? And then you can place your fees accordingly. It also lets you know difficulty, what's going on with the mempool, like historically, how fees have been for the day. Is it just a blip where it went up for a little bit, or has it been pretty high for the last few hours? Latest transactions, you can click on individual blocks. You can see mining stats, all kinds of awesome stuff in here. You can see the mining pools, how large they are, hash rate, all of that stuff is here. What you can also do is you can look up your transactions. So if you have a transaction, you can paste it in here. It will pop up and it will give you all of the information about that particular transaction. So just as an example, here's latest transactions down below. I'll just click on a random transaction. This is what you would see if you pasted in your transaction ID here. So you see it was just seen right now. It should confirm in 11 minutes or so. It is SegWit and it does not have RBF on it. It paid 42 cents in fees, or 2,400 sats. The fee rate was 16.2 sats per byte. It was a single input and 2 outputs. It lets us know all kinds of stuff about this transaction. So you can look it up, and then it will show you which block it's currently sitting in, when it'll be confirmed, or if it is confirmed, it'll show you which block it was in the chain. So all kinds of great stuff. And now the benefit of running Mempool on your own node with the Embassy is if you go to this website just on the regular internet and you paste in your transaction info, then it is possible that you're leaking information about yourself, aka somebody from your IP address, probably you, looked up a certain transaction on the Bitcoin blockchain. And so then there's some sort of linkage between you and this transaction. It could denote that you own this money or you sent this money. So just be aware that if you use it on regular internet, while it's an awesome website, Mempool.Space, it could be compromising to your privacy. Whereas if you run this website is generated from my own copy of the Bitcoin blockchain and my own mempool, which is all of the transactions that are kind of sitting and waiting on my device that will eventually be officially added and confirmed onto the Bitcoin blockchain. So all of this data that's being put together here is all my own node. And that's pretty awesome. Now, one thing that is important to do on your Start9 Embassy is to do backups. So the way you do that is you go over on the left, click on Embassy, and up at the top, you'll see a backup section. You can hit Create Backup. The way I'll be doing it today is on a folder via my laptop and a drive plugged into it on my local network. There is an instructions page here. You can go to that and check it out if you like, but I'll walk you through the steps. Now, first things first, on my computer here, I've already have my Finder open. Again, I'm on a Mac. There is instructions for Windows and Linux via the instruction page, but I have a drive plugged into my computer, this one here. I'm going to create a new folder, and we'll just call it Embassy, better spell it right, Embassy Backup. Okay, perfect. So I've got a folder there. I also need to open up some settings here. So you're going to open up, you're just going to search in the Finder for sharing. And this will bring up your sharing page. So in terms of sharing, you need to make sure that file sharing is ticked off, that you are doing this. So it says file sharing on. And then you're going to choose the folder you just created. So you're going to hit plus. You're going to look for that in the location it was last created. So there's Embassy Backup right there. I'm going to hit add. And that is pretty much it. Now, one thing, you may need to click on options and check off the account number here and hit done. So I'm just going to leave that as is, and everything should be all good. At this point, we can jump over to the Embassy. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click open new, and we need to paste in some information here. The host name is actually back in this folder we were just looking at. It's right here. So you're just going to highlight that and copy it. And you'll paste that in right here. Now the path is just the name of the folder that you made up. So you just type that in here, make sure it's spelled the exact same. Your username is your computer username. And if you're unsure of this, you can open the terminal, or you can look in various folders. Like if I go and look in right here, my home folder, Benjamin Parent, that is my username. Another way to look it up is if you open up the terminal, it's typically precedes the name of your MacBook. So right here, Benjamin Parent, that is mine. So that's where you can find it, but I can just type that in here. And then your password will be the password for your computer, not your Embassy, but for your computer. So I'm going to type that in here, and then we're going to hit connect and hope everything goes to plan. Perfect. So we can now see Embassy Backup available for fresh backup, and we are good to go. So we're going to click on that, and then it says, hey, what do you want to actually back up? So you can back up Bitcoin Core, like all of the different things that you have, or you can deselect all and just select a couple of them. We're going to hit backup selected. And then we're going to enter the password this time for your Embassy, because you're saying, yes, it's okay to put these files on my computer or the external drive. This will actually encrypt the data that you're about to save. All right. So it will be inaccessible to anybody without this password, without your Embassy password. So even if they did get access to that drive that it's saved on, they would still need to decrypt it with the password. So there you go. And hit create backup. Now this will go through each one of these. It'll take a little bit, but it'll back them all up to that folder, and we'll be good to go. After it cycles through all of the things you're backing up, you'll be bumped back to your main Embassy page here, which under backups it now says the date of my last backup and the time, and we are all set and good to go. Now, you can also see I have a notification here on the left hand side, and it says, hey, your backup is complete. I can view the report if I want, or I can just X out of it so it's no longer there. Now you can restore from backup as well. So let's take a look at what that would look like, how we would do that. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go to Spark Wallet. I'm actually going to go into the actions, and this allows me to uninstall Spark. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to uninstall this app for right now. So it basically removes it and all the data therein. Now, there's not a whole lot of data there with Spark, but had I done similar with any of these other applications, it might be a problem for me. So how would I reinstate these? Well, I can go to Embassy, I can go to the backup section and restore from backup. this takes me through, hey, where do you want to restore from? Well, this is my backup folder. I'm going to go here. Now, I need the master password. This was the password used to encrypt the backup, which is the password for my embassy. So I'm going to type that in now. And then I'm going to hit next. Okay, so warning. A service will permanently overwrite its current data from its backup. Please make selections carefully. Now, it says all of these are already installed. That's why they're grayed out. But hey, Spark Wallet. It says it's ready to restore. So I can tap on that and I can hit restore selected. And it will restore Spark Wallet. Now it's installing here. And the great part about this is it will restore the application. It will restore any of the personal data that you had in relation to that application and any of the settings that you may have changed within the application. All of that will be put up to date based on the last time you backed up the application. So simple, easy as pie. This will reinstall and then it will be basically as it was when I deleted it, or rather when I backed it up just a few minutes ago, but you get the point. Either way, that is how easy it is to back up and restore anything on your Start9 Embassy. And it's important to do this relatively often. So you don't just go in and you back it up once. You go and you back it up, depending on how frequently you're going to do it. I would say at least once a week is probably pretty good. It just make it part of your regular workflow. Now, Spark Wallet will say it needs config. If I click on it, I hit configure, just as when we first started it. If this was any other application, it would give you the options to make changes, but all of the defaults that you put in and whatever you tweaked before in your configuration will be there. But I didn't do anything, and it's literally just a username and password. I can just hit save, and then we're good to go. We can start it up, and there we go. That's it. Everything will be up and running just as it was before. Now, just a few other quick things I wanted to highlight over here in the Embassy panel on the left-hand side. So beyond the backups section, you have all of your settings. So this is where you would check for updates in terms of new versions of Embassy OS, all of your preferences, device name, background tasks, your local area network information to connect to your Embassy. You can go into SSH and access from command line. You can do a Wi-Fi network if you choose. You can connect via Wi-Fi from your Embassy so that you don't need to plug in directly to your router. You can also, and this is very interesting, and this is my favorite part about this section, you can sideload services and marketplaces. So you can sideload an actual application onto your Start9 Embassy. Maybe if it's not in the App Store or in the marketplace, you can just add it here. So if you have something you're working on that you'd like to have on your Start9 Embassy, or if you know of a developer doing something that you'd like to try out, you can just sideload that. You don't need it to be in the marketplace yet. Furthermore, the marketplace settings. There is a Start9 marketplace, but you can add alternative marketplaces for anything related to running your own personal server. So what's the point of this? Well, remember at the beginning I was saying that Start9 was trying to make it possible so that they cannot be censored, shut down in any way, shape, or form, and people have full control over their embassy. Well, this is that. Anybody can create an app marketplace, and then any Start9 Embassy user can add the marketplace here. So all you need is a URL to where that marketplace is located. You save and connect, and then all of a sudden you will have additional options of maybe applications that are not currently available on the Start9 marketplace. Well, hey, now they're available. So these guys are working hard to ensure that no matter what, you have access to any applications that you see fit. And let's say somebody came down on Start9 as a company and said, hey, guys, you can't host these applications. They're not allowed for whatever reason, that hypothetical nation state attack. Well, This undoes all that because anybody can create a marketplace, anybody can sideload an application, anybody can connect to the marketplace of their choosing and host applications that are downloaded independent of Start9 as a company. Pair that with the fact that you can build this from really anything, from the parts of your choice, and you can continue to run this, and that the software itself you can audit and replicate, and yeah, it's a tour de force what they are building here, and I love to see it. Again, down below here, you have various insights about your machine. You can monitor CPU, disk, memory. You can see what's currently running, OS logs, all these different logs and stuff are down here. Again, if you're into the technical of it, you can see what's going on behind the scenes. You've got your support down here, and then of course, log out, restart, shutdown, system rebuild, all that stuff is down here. So if you need to restart your Embassy for any reason, there it is right in that Embassy menu. And that is that. We have everything as we need it. We have our full Bitcoin stack, and we'll be back with more on how to utilize your Start9 Embassy in the near future regarding other applications and ways that you can use this. Lastly here, I want to go into the concept of troubleshooting. Let's say you're encountering some issues with your Start9 Embassy and you want to get to the root of the problem. Well, there's a few things that you can go ahead and do. So let's say that you're having a problem with a program, but it still says running. Everything seems to be working. You can, if you're technically inclined, you can go in, you can click on the application, you can go to logs. And this will give you a list of basically what the program has been doing. So you may not notice anything, again, for those that maybe don't understand what's on the screen here, it will basically just tell you each action that a program is taking, each computation that it's doing. So we can see, and you tend to be able to see certain things. Oh, hey, it's catching up on block notifications. Okay, there's a new block that just came in right here. So each one of these is an update on the Bitcoin blockchain. Here we can see, oh, we connected to a new peer, meaning that we are getting information from another Bitcoin Core node in the network, or we're giving information to another Bitcoin Core node in the network. So you can kind of, if there's an issue, you'll likely see errors showing up, something that says error ran into this issue, error ran into this issue. It gives you at least a starting point to say, oh, something's going wrong here. And this can be useful if you're talking to support. Nonetheless, it's not hidden away. It's somewhere that you can easily just click in logs, say, okay, what's in front of me? Do I notice anything glaring right away that something is happening where it says error? At least it gives you a reference. It's not hidden. But let's say there's a program that's giving you issues. You can try going in and restarting it or stopping it or whatever it may be. So let's take a look. Spark Wallet here. You have options that say stop or restart. And it's as simple as hitting that stop button, the program will stop running, and then again, hitting start again, or just a quick restart. So I'll just hit restart here as an example. It shuts down the program in question. It takes a few minutes to go through, and then it will restart it, reopen it, and allow it to basically start fresh. And a lot of times this will resolve the issue. Just be aware that in some instances there are, and you can see it's starting, it's already up and running again, and it just does its health checks as it begins running. But I digress. You may, if you restart a program, there may be other programs that are dependent upon it, and those will not function properly until the underlying interface is working. So if I had restarted Core Lightning, this is a dependency of Spark Wallet, that means that Spark Wallet obviously would not function until Core Lightning had completely restarted. Sometimes it's a good idea to stop the programs that are dependent on the one that you're restarting before going ahead and restarting it. But nonetheless, this is an easy option for, hey, something's wrong, I need to see what's going on, and the tried and true turn it off and turn it back on again are right here. And that is true of all of the different programs that you are running. Furthermore, Start9 does have a support page that has a lot of common issues, FAQs. You can contact them directly. Again, there's a local community of Start9 Embassy users that can help you out. And then on top of that, again, if you've bought a device from Start9, then you get access directly to them and their support. So that's incredibly useful. And of course, their Telegram channel, all that kind of stuff, their various social media presences, that can help you a ton with any troubleshooting issues you may come across. So the thing that strikes me, having used Start9 Embassy, is kind of the thought that has gone into having a solid foundation to start, and then starting to build up and create user interfaces and experiences that are easy to navigate, but also easy to troubleshoot. That is important. You can get granular, but at the same time, you do have that ease of use of, oh, I can just install an application and do the default, and I'm pretty much good to go. And I think that user experience is going to continue to get even better while having that solid foundation there. The other thing, and we just spoke about it here, is the fact that you can sideload applications, or you can, they've basically removed the possibility of censorship by allowing for alternative marketplaces to be imported into your app store on the device. And I think that's very, very important and very forward thinking. Again, speaking with the guys at Start9, these guys have this ethos of, we want to, all of their actions more or less, in a way, make themselves at least partially obsolete, in that if Start9 were to no longer be here, the infrastructure that they've built can continue to live on. Of course, they're a company. They want to make money, and they can do so, you know, selling hardware and everything. And they do a really good job of the builds and quality of the devices that they're sending out. But they want you to have the optionality. You can just use hardware you have kicking around the house. If you have an old computer or a laptop, you can just, you know, flash Start9 or Embassy OS onto it. But you kind of get that extra above and beyond if you do purchase from them, because then you've got access to all of the support that comes with it. You're supporting a company that has this ethos of disintermediating everything. And you're actually getting hardware that, if you don't already have hardware sitting around, is pretty much undercutting the market based on what you're getting. Like that Embassy Pro, it's as I said, it's beefy. There's a lot to it, and even the infrastructure of the Embassy One. Just in putting it together, it's more than just the Pi, right? Like they've gone, there's the power board, there's the upgraded fan and everything like that. It's been a breeze dealing with this thing. I love it, and I do get the feeling that Start9 is going to be my go-to for my day-to-day node in terms of management and use. So hats off to Start9. I can't wait to dive in deeper and start utilizing this thing to manage my data on top of some of my Bitcoin stack. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, please do hit like, subscribe, share. All those things help a ton in getting this type of content in front of more eyeballs. If you want to help the show in another way, you can hit up the previously mentioned sponsors down below, including Start9 Labs, but also CoinKite, HODL HODL, Bill Fuddle, and ShakePay. They're all linked in the show notes down below. Now, if you are a person that needs a little bit more than just the free tutorial material that I offer on YouTube, you can always hit up my website, btcsessions.ca, and you can book a private one-on-one session with me for whatever you may need, from everything from self-custody to running a node to dealing with lightning to just about anything. So head over to btcsessions.ca if that is up your alley. And finally, if you really liked what you saw, you can always drop me a Bitcoin tip at my Strike page. That is strike.me/BTC Sessions. Head there, type in any amount you like, hit the tip button. You'll be greeted with a Lightning invoice, or if you prefer, tap to the right, you'll see a regular Bitcoin QR code. With that, I am out. Have yourselves a wonderful day or evening wherever you may be. I'll see you guys next time for your daily session.